Welcome to the show. We're so excited to have our guest today, our good friend, Heike Bachmann.
Heike is a voiceover artist, in fact, the only voiceover artist that we know. And we can't wait to hear about
Is
how.
that true?
Oh, who else do we know?
Andrew, he's a voiceover artist. Don't leave him out.
Heike is the only female voiceover artist that we know.
There you go.
And she lives in our neighborhood right across the street. So we're very excited to connect on Zoom with her today and find out all about how she got the perfect pandemic career.
Pre-pandemic.
And she had a pre-pandemic.
Perfect pandemic, pre-pandemic
career.
I can't.
So we're going to find out how to become a voiceover artist with our friend Heike Bachmann.
Heike.
Was macht eine Gemeinschaft aus? Das sind Leute, die sich gegenseitig unterstützen, auch wenn sie sich gerade nicht sehen können. Das sind Menschen, die ihren Nachbarn Notizen schreiben und Hilfe.
Oh my gosh!
Hello.
I want to jump right in and ask you about how you got your start as a voiceover artist.
That's a good question. So basically, a year after I got here, I had this corporate job, which was more or less a money job. And in order to keep some connection to my culture, I started teaching German at a Berlitz type of school. And one day, one of the people who organized the school or ran the school asked me, do you do voiceovers? I had no idea what a voiceover was. I mean, I had never even heard of a what is it? So he said, like, can you give us a sample of your voice? So I had some friends in the music, in the jazz world, and they recorded my voice, like 3 different type of things, like a children's story, a news clip, a book cover. And then I submitted it and forgot about it. 2 years later, my phone rang and a voice asked, are you still doing voiceovers? I had never done one. Of course, I said, yes, Carrie, now you got it. Exactly. Sure. And I have to say, my first job was probably the hardest I've ever done. It was lip syncing. They sent me a VHS tape in the mail with minutes, milliseconds, it's like with a film attached, and I had to lip sync a Chinese police woman in downtown New York.
I'll make sure that Keve edits in an explanation as to what VHS is for the kids.
Hi, willkommen bei Airbnb. Hier kannst du Zimmer, Häuser und sogar Schlösser auf der ganzen Welt buchen. Jede Unterkunft hat einen Gastgeber, der dafür sorgt, dass du dich sofort zu Hause fühlst. Und jetzt schau dich um. Entdecke großartige Unterkünfte oder suche nach einem Ort, an den du schon immer mal reisen wolltest. Deine Fantasie.
So you have the perfect pandemic career.
Yes, that's correct. Because I live in my closet. I'm literally, when we are done with this, go back into my closet to record.
How do people find you to book you for voiceovers?
For a while, it was really kind of word of mouth a little bit. And then somebody took me by the hand and walked me to my first agent. His name was called Hans Wolters. He had a foreign voiceover agency. Back then, that was a thing. He actually came after the Second World War and started an agency bringing German and European actors over to perform here. He was already in his 90s when I met him. And it was remarkable to have met this kind of legend, obviously since has passed. And he, I have to say, I owe a lot to him. I was the first woman to record for Chrysler cars and for Cadillac, for the German automobile show in Frankfurt and the Geneva Automobile Salon. They needed German voices, and they usually always had male voices. And thanks to Hans Wolters, I got a break, and he convinced them to try out a woman. And these jobs really kind of increased a little bit my visibility. And then after a while, I recorded with one studio, Paul and Paula Rubens, and they again took me by the hand and said, you need a real agent. And they took me to Abrams. And I have to say, since then, things changed.
It is such a different world from the music world, voiceover work. I mean, we do some, there's recording at home right now for your instrument, but and a lot of that is word of mouth as well. Do you ever submit your work to like an audition? Like, is there an audition process?
Yes. Yes, especially now, it's also again all online. So there are online agencies like voices.com, voice123.com, and you fill out a profile with your voice, and then if something comes along that matches your profile, you get an email, and then you audition. I mean, I audition like everyone else. I have to say the biggest challenge right now is to keep my desktop clean because I have so many auditions on my desktop. You know, you clog up your system because I would say on average, I do 3-4 auditions a day. And you know, sometimes you do 40-50 auditions until a job comes through, you know, it's like not, but if you have an agent and the online agency and word of mouth, you have a constant flow.
Think about all the technology that has been developed over the last 20 years, and especially in the last 5 years, that allows someone, I don't know if you went to technical college or what, but you know, lets the average person who has a good voice manage their entire career basically from their desktop.
It's been an uphill battle, I have to say. It was not easy. I still enjoy going to the studio and just concentrate on the text and have the sound engineer do the rest. And I love the hang, of course, with the sound engineers. But I mean, I had to learn it in the end. It started out with us traveling a lot and being gone for 3 months in the summer, and I didn't want to lose my clients. So I had to figure out a basic kind of way to record. And then when COVID hit, I just had to up my game, you know, buy a really good microphone, isolation walls, and good condenser and a good interface, things like I never even knew how to deal with it.
Tell us about a typical day in the closet for Heike Bachmann.
That doesn't sound right. Anyway, go ahead.
Wait, let me try that again.
In the studio.
Tell us what a typical day like in your closet studio. What it's like. Do you go make yourself a cup of coffee in the kitchen?
First of all, coffee is out. It dehydrates your vocal cords. Coffee is out.
Like an opera singer.
Yeah, you have to wait with the coffee until you're done. The best is obviously water with lemon. Even better is if you always have to have an apple. Biting in an apple, the apple acid breaks down the saliva, so there's no mouth noise. And basically, lately what's happening is a lot of clients want to still listen in and some look in. So I need Zoom set up on a separate device. So I have a tablet with Zoom, and I have my computer with all my recording software with the text and everything open. Yeah, so basically I have to make sure that everything in my closet is hidden before the clients go online and peek in. Yeah, and that's sometimes a challenge, I have to say. And then there's a software called Source Connect, which allows an audio engineer outside to literally zap the audio from my computer directly. So it's, and I had recently pretty big job that I went through several rounds of auditions, and I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, so I cannot say for who it was. But the client was online from Berlin. There was an agency here in New York. The sound engineer is in Red Hook in Brooklyn. And I had said that I have Source Connect, but there are different versions of Source Connect. There's a free version, Source Connect now, and then there is a paid for version. And obviously they were understanding that I have the paid for version, which I did not have. And so I literally, with the client on Zoom and the agency and the sound engineer, I had to purchase the license first and download. I mean, it was a nightmare, honestly. I was sweating bullets in my closet, but it all worked out fine in the end. But there are sometimes surprises, you know, things you don't expect or count on.
Yeah. Sure. There's so many voiceover commercials with Donald Sutherland and Alec Baldwin, like really famous people. So I know that right, like a TV commercial must be a little hard to nab because they use famous actors.
Yes, also in Germany, actually. I have to say, so my career is basically being a German voiceover for American companies like Amazon, Google, or cartoons that are made here that are streaming into Germany. But to make it in Germany, it's a whole different thing. Like there was one job I auditioned for, and the client liked my voice very much, but he said, I want the German voice of Jennifer Lopez. And that's somebody in Germany. You know, I don't even know who it is. And in Germany, they know that voice. Like I grew up, there was one voice for Al Pacino or one voice for, I remember being absolutely disappointed when I heard John Wayne, his original voice. I loved his German voice.
Ich bin hinter so einem baumlangen Kerl hier. Er ist auf dem Schecken gekommen, der da draußen steht. Ist der hier irgendwo bei euch?
Nicht mal die Seife hat er angefasst, das Ferkel. Ma, hörst du, der hat sie nicht richtig gewaschen.
So we identify somebody, you know.
I was looking at your videos online, and there was a tour of Jackson Hole that I watched a bunch of, and I've been there, but I still enjoyed watching your tour in German.
In German.
I don't understand. I can't imagine somebody else doing that. It was so perfectly you know.
Thank you. That was so much fun. I did close to 30 videos for this Discover America. It was a lot of fun because in a way you get to travel and you can, how can I say, you can be yourself. You describe it the way you see it, the way you experience it. It was a lot of fun. Oh my God, once actually at an airport, we were checking in, very funny, and I had a client in Sweden wanted me to do a couple of IVR prompts for Klarna, the payment system. And I said, I'm in line to check in at the airport. He said, it's just 2 sentences. Can't you find some corner? And I'm like, how am I going to do this? And I said, do you have the mic? I said, yeah, I have the mic. It's in the suitcase. So I literally asked somebody at the airport at John F. Kennedy, and they said, you can go to the chapel. So I went to the chapel. Then the chapel, of course, has too much echo. Then there was somebody who is kind of administering the chapel. He said, you can go in this corner and we have a pillow. So I was literally kneeling in a corner at the airport chapel with a pillow over my head.
Do you have exciting projects coming up that you haven't signed a non-disclosure for that you can tell us about?
That I can talk about? Yeah, actually, this morning I opened first the New York Times, which talked about Johnson & Johnson working on a COVID vaccine with one shot. And then I opened my email and I got a note from my agent saying Johnson & Johnson would like you to audition for it. I'm like, okay. So I haven't signed anything yet.
A is the vaccine.
Yeah, you get the vaccine ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, I let you know.
If there was anything that you could share with a youngster or a college graduate who might think they want to go into voiceover work, what would that advice be?
A lot of reading, really a lot of reading, and reading out aloud, even to yourself. Hear your voice, and when you read out aloud, see what you're reading. The rest rolls by itself, and you have to be in the moment. But that goes naturally, I think. Once you start really taking the words in, it's all there, and you have to love it. You have to just enjoy it. I keep saying if I were to win the lotto tomorrow, I would still do voiceovers. I wouldn't stop. I love it.
Thank you for joining us. It's such a pleasure to talk with you, and we so admire your career.
Oh, thank you. I love you guys.
We'll see you around the neighborhood.
See you across the street. Exactly.
Was wäre, wenn Sie ein hochmodernes Werkzeug zur Hand hätten, mit dem Sie Folgendes tun können: Kommunizieren, zusammenarbeiten, navigieren auf völlig neuartige Weise. Mit Avaya Flair Experience wird das möglich. Bringen Sie Video, Sprache, Text, private und berufliche Kommunikation zusammen. Auf einer intelligenten Oberfläche, die sich merkt, was Sie gestern getan haben.